Welcome back to the CSP Elite Baseball Development Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Cressey, and this is episode 214. This guest was previously on the show all the way back in episode number 3 in 2019. So we've got 6 years of wisdom to share. He has since retired and actually transitioned into coaching, both at the high school ranks and his daughters. He's a guy who's still training at the facility as he prepares to kind of come out of retirement for an event that he'll talk about towards the end of the podcast here today. But I always think retired guys are great guests because they let their guard down a little bit, share a little bit more of the secrets that really maybe they kept a little tighter in their chest while they were playing. Shares some of the things that he's seen as he's transitioned to this coaching world, and also reflects on how the game has evolved since he made his debut all the way back in 2010. So one of my favorite people on the planet, and always a great guest on these episodes. This episode is brought to you by First Form, an awesome supplement company with a comprehensive product offering that I enjoy using myself and with our athletes. Beyond the broad product line they offer, I also love First Form's commitment to ensuring that their products are the highest quality. They meet NSF certified for sports standards for both consistency and purity. Their Formula One protein powder is the best tasting option I've had in over 20 years in the fitness industry, and they've got several great flavors to choose from. I also lean on their creatine monohydrate to support hard training, their collagen for joint health, their magnesium to help with sleep quality, and their fish oil for a variety of health benefits. Our daughters and I also share a love for their high-protein meat sticks, which have become a big hit in the Cressey household for school lunches and on-the-go protein options as we head to gymnastics and softball practices. Of course, First Form products also have been really popular with our athletes at Cressey Sports Performance, and they're used by some of the top-performing athletes and most recognizable sports franchises in the world. Above all, the people at First Form are top-notch, and that's a rarity in an often unethical business. First Form is dedicated to empowering people on their fitness journeys, and that dedication is matched by only their unwavering commitment to exceptional quality and unparalleled customer service. Check them out for yourself at www.firstform.com/Cressey. That's 1stphorm.com/CRESSEY and get free shipping on your order of $75 or more. Additionally, they're offering amazing 10% more than your money back guarantee if you're not fully satisfied with your purchase. Again, that's firstform.com/Cressey to get free shipping on your order of $75 or more. Today's guest is a retired Major League relief pitcher who was born and raised in Massachusetts, then attended Carson Newman College. He was drafted in the 5th round of the 2007 MLB draft by the Florida Marlins and debuted for them in 2010. Over 13 MLB seasons, he played for the Marlins, Cardinals, Mariners, Rays, Cubs, White Sox, Angels, and Nationals. He retired after the 2022 season with 133 career saves and a 2.98 ERA. He's been a CSP athlete since 2009. Please welcome to the show, Steve Cishek. Steve, you're 5 houses away right now. Welcome to the show.
It's good to be back on.
We really should have done this in person. That would have made way more sense, but it's easier to do it after the kids are in bed, right?
Totally. I was thinking about that actually. I was going to ride the golf cart over. I was like, our kids probably need to sleep.
Right on. So obviously, we've got a ton to talk about since the last time you're on here. We did that interview in 2019 while you were still playing. I think that was your last year with the Cubs, right? I think.
Yes, it was. Yep.
Yeah. So you saw a few different markets before you retired after parts of 13 years in the big leagues. As the image here will show, you've got plenty of bobbleheads to show for your time in the big leagues from the backdrop of your interview. But I'm curious for you, how did the game change over the course of your career? Maybe for the better and the worse, like when you look back on it in hindsight.
Yeah. For the better, I mean, it's kind of I don't know, catch-22, right? Because the talent level is through the roof. I mean, just watch these playoff games, especially. You had Cam Schlittler, did he say it?
Yeah, you got it.
Throwing for you guys, and like a Northeastern dude, you don't see many guys from Northeastern, and uh, sitting 100 pretty much is dotting, and that's like almost like typical nowadays. I feel like every time I watch a game, someone's sitting mid to upper 90s to 100 with wipeout stuff. And so, and from that standpoint, it's exciting to watch pitching, and it's just to see how good the hitters really are to make adjustments to that. And that has all happened. I feel like it's evolved over the last 5 years. Really, it's really taken off. But the other part of that, when I say it's a catch-22, is the injuries. Guys that it's just they're just racking up injuries left and right, and it's taking a toll. So for me, just to see both sides of that, it's awesome watching the talent level, but it's disappointing seeing guys go down so much as they are. And So I mean, you're in the world. You're starting to make adjustments in the weight room. I can see guys doing different exercises that I wasn't doing back when I was playing. And so there's obviously being adjustments made on your standpoint, which is encouraging too. But it's just you hate to see it when guys get hurt.
The margin for error is just so small now. Like you had a little bit more wiggle room in the past, and now pitchers got so much better. Now hitters are finding ways to keep up, and pitchers are now correcting again. And it's just you're right, the velocities are at all-time high. Like, and I'm curious, like when you look back at your career, and it's pretty impressive, man. I mean, zero IL stints for arm issue. You had a hip surgery the day after the season ended. And I think you missed like 2 months in the start of the next season over, 18 years in pro ball, 13 in the big leagues. When you look back at that, especially in light of, what we just talked about, what do you think the keys were for you that allowed you to kind of always be available to take the ball over that time period?
Sure. There's a few that come to mind. One for sure is consistency in the weight room. I mean, I wasn't the strongest guy. I didn't lift the heaviest, but I was really disappointed when I wasn't checking off all those little boxes you put on our workout sheet,
Yeah.
and from week in, week out, like I wanted to hit all of them. Now, life comes up, and when you have kids and stuff, it gets a little bit more difficult, and I'd miss a little bit more here and there. But for the most part, I wanted to make sure I was in the weight room, yeah, at least 4 times a week, doing the program, and being consistent with that. Because if you're not consistent in the weight room or in your preparation in general, I mean, I strongly believe that carries over into the playing field, especially on a from a physical standpoint. You get complacent in there, you don't
Mhm.
get after it as hard as you normally do. You're not building that foundation for a long season, 162 games or more if you're in the playoffs. If you're not consistently getting after it, it's going to take a toll on you during the season. It's going to get you. And the other thing is, honestly, I took good care of my body. I wasn't the healthiest of eaters, but I always try to go to bed at a decent hours. I never went out. I never drank, smoked, nothing. And I strongly feel like that was a huge recipe for staying healthy. Like I was tired like everyone else, but um, physically sore. But like I know that over a long haul, like without doing those things and taking care of my body, especially the rest part, was going to pay big dividends, and it did.
It's amazing how many guys use their bullets in the wrong places, right? When they're already playing 162 and it's beating them down to like go out extra and drink alcohol and stuff like that. It definitely layers on top of the fatigue you get from the game itself.
It does, and I'm not trying to say like what I did was perfect either, but or in that I'm not trying to like talk down on anyone either for that matter, but I just saw it in person. Certain guys were going out more than usual, and I get it. You're at the prime of your career, like you want to enjoy life and everything like that. But for me, I was like, you know what? Like I'd rather stay in and make sure I'm ready for tomorrow's game, because they might need me. And so I don't know. That was just what worked for me. Other guys were able to manage the nightlife and everything like that really well. I know guys that had unbelievable seasons, and they had their fun too off the field. But that was just for me what worked.
I got you. I'm curious, we were joking the other day, like you just got a sauna, like the longevity market has taken off like crazy since you retired. Like the last 3 years, everybody is biohacking and trying to like find the cheat code for feeling younger, feeling better, all that stuff. I'm curious if there's stuff that you encounter now that you think might have helped you during your career. Because you kind of retired right as that stuff, fast tracked the way that it has over the last couple of years.
Yeah, good point. Definitely the sauna. I mean, you brought it to my attention, like just the health benefits that come from something like that, and I'm gonna start messing around with it here, as I'm kind of training again. But yeah, I mean, guys, and honestly, when there's a whole bunch of modalities that came out, especially towards the second half of my career and on, but the you can't beat soft tissue work, in my opinion. Like I was in there all the time, getting either a thumb in my shoulder, elbow, back, whatever was aching, or for sure dry needle. Like I was a huge dry needle fan. That like saved me. That and cupping, I'd say. And I feel like you can't beat those things. All the other stuff like saunas, cold tub, everything like that is great too. But I couldn't live without the cup needle, dry needle, or a thumb in my shoulder.
I love that. Along those same lines, like when you talk to young players, and then we're lucky that you're still around the facility and hanging out and interacting with guys that are just getting into pro ball. like what's the most important lesson you try to impart on those guys when you first interact, like when them those whether it's a 19-year-old kid who just got drafted out of high school or a kid who's 21 after his junior in college, what are the lessons that you think are most important to extend to them?
Yeah, I think the first thing I typically go to is what we talked about earlier is consistency. Like it all starts, if I'm in the weight room with them, it's like it all starts right here. Like
Mhm.
you're preparing every single day in this gym for that long season. It's a
Mhm.
grind. Like there's gonna be peaks and valleys, but
Yeah,
all of your preparation you're doing now is going to get you through that grind. And I firmly believe that. And that's the day in and day out stuff. When you're lifting in the gym, you're throwing every day. When you're tired, are you still getting after it when you're tired? Or are you taking days off and you're like, I'm just gonna flip it, flip my throws in there. Like, no, like I really, especially when I was tired, made sure I made it in there, made sure I got after it in my throwing program. Because if I didn't do that in the season, then I would take it off during there too. I'd take mental breaks. And so I think the off season is the biggest part for me. And then two is how do you handle adversity? How do you handle failure? Because you're going to get punched in the mouth over and over again, and how you respond to that is going to be huge. So, what is your process to bouncing back?
I love that. I'm curious. One of the things that I always think about with you, you were a guy that never liked to take days off from throwing. I remember us talking about this during your career. Like it was something where like you would throw on off days if you needed to. I'm curious, was that something you did your entire career? Was that something that changed as you got older and there was more wear and tear on it? But I distinctly remember those discussions. And maybe it was that, it was a unique arm action and you just feel like you needed to pattern it more frequently than maybe other guys do. But where's your head at on that?
Yeah, towards the end of my career, I tapered it back a little bit. I realized I was being a little bit overzealous with the throwing, probably, but there, and you learn from veteran guys early on too in your career. Like I'd be long toss for me like 120 feet every single day, no matter what. Thinking I'm working hard, and then I'd see guys not even playing catch relievers, and they just carry it into the game. Like I'm gonna get my throws as I'm warming up in the game. I'm saving my bullets today because I'm tired. I'm like, wow, that's some trust right there. Like you trust your stuff that much? Well, yeah, they're in the big leagues, of course they do. And I learned that early. So when I got older and a little bit more beat up, I would take those days off for sure. But I hated taking more than 2 days off or more than one day off. Like if there's if like All-Star break, for example, I'd take one day off from throwing and I'd find a way to throw into a fence or something just to keep my arm going. Cause I felt like trash if I took those 2 to 3 extra days. So
That's interesting. Yeah, but I love the idea of trust. Like there are a lot of guys that are at the highest level that, you see a lot of guys throwing tons of pregame bullpens and things like that and just layering and layering fatigue. And, there's certainly a place for that, especially if you're not getting a lot of use. But there is something to be said about just having confidence in yourself to be able to like take that day here and there.
well, and especially if things are going well and you feel good, it's like I don't
Yeah.
want to keep throwing and making myself tired. Then I'm going to start getting the bad habits and I'm going to feel terrible. But I mean, I've watched guys throw bullpens literally every single day. And I'm like, I was exhausted watching them. And this guy closed 3 days in a row and he's on the mound. I'm like, this is crazy. Oh, I mean, and that's kind of common now. No one throws flat grounds anymore. Everyone gets off the mound, and I like that. But I also think there's a place for rest, and you got to at some point trust that you're going to get the job done, and
Mhm.
then also give your body the break it needs.
Yeah. I'm curious about your response to this next one. So twice in your career, 2015 and 2020, you struggled. I remember 2015, traded over the Cardinals, just couldn't quite find it down the stretch. You were left off the playoff roster but then went to Seattle, really righted the ship there. And then 2020, obviously the COVID year, a lot of guys were out of sorts in various ways. And you really finished your career like super durable. I think you led the Angels in appearances in one of your last years there. Like so both times you sorted it out and came back better than previously. So like in hindsight, there are a lot of guys that don't figure it out, right? They struggle and it never comes back. When you look back at those two separate instances, how are you able to right the ship and kind of reinvent yourself, especially when the league was getting better and better and better, when so many other people in the past have struggled to do so?
There's. I'll try to keep it brief. There's like it's kind of a loaded
So
question.
you can
The
talk as long as you want. It's your podcast.
um, I remember in 15, first of all, you have to have a good support group, people that you trust, teammates that that are just good people that want to see you get better. And then I remember reaching out to, you know, friends in the church, and I got incredible advice from a guy who didn't even play baseball growing up. He just was there for me and knew I was struggling and just telling him, like, I was always pretty motivated, but I was, in 2015, I was a new dad. Honestly, I didn't get in the weight room as consistently as I wanted to. Physically, I felt something was off. I think it was the start of my hip issues. I didn't realize it yet. And so I just had a good support group. I reached out to him. He lit the fire under me. Um, and then when ended up getting sent down with the Marlins, and after that, instead of looking at that as like woe is me, I took it hard at first. I remember walking out of the office, I didn't say anything to them. I shut the door when I got sent down, and then took 30 minutes to sulk and came back in apologizing like, all right, I'm going tomorrow, like let's go. I want to figure this out because I had a huge desire. If someone puts trust in what I do, then I got to go over and beyond to like meet those expectations for them. And so for me, it's just, all right, I'm going back to the basics. I'm going down to the minor leagues. I'm going to do what made me good. I figure it out down here. And when I go back up, I'm just going to get after it. And it worked. I didn't pitch to my expectations even after I got called back up and I got traded to St. Louis. I wasn't still myself, but that offseason was huge for me because I really like killed it in the weight room. For by my standards. And when Seattle gave me the job to close for them, like I took it to heart. And I wanted to make that city have a championship team. And unfortunately, we fell short by 2 games. But I can look back and say I literally gave everything I possibly had. That was the most exhausting season I've ever been a part of. So when people say the Cubs, Seattle was much more difficult for me because I threw longer innings, higher leverage situations, and I was full throttle all the time. And so I just had this desire that if a team's going to pay me to pitch, I'm going to make sure that they get the best version of myself because that's what they deserve. And for me, that was huge. And then my motto was always carried Bible verse in my back pocket,
Mhm.
Colossians 3:23. With whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord and not for men. So I was playing every single day to the glory of God, knowing that if I gave everything I possibly had, the team would get the best version of myself. So those two things just motivated me day in and day out. So when I had failures, like, did I give everything I had that day? Yes, I did. Did it work out? No. But I can go to bed and I can go to sleep, wake up the next day and get after it again without any reservation. And so that's what drove me day in and out, just to get over the failure, get over
Mhm.
everything that's happened and just get after it each day.
Yeah, I distinctly remember that 2016 season because I, I knew that your hip was barking at you. And Ann and I came to see you pitch at Wrigley. This is before you became a Cub. And I think you remember it was like bloop single. I think Addison Russell got you in that game, and it was a walk off. And like post game, you came out, gave both of us big hugs, like you total pro after blowing a save in a big market. I think it might have been Sunday Night Baseball, and you had every opportunity in that moment to complain about your hip. And what
Yeah.
was me, bleeder hits, and you didn't. Like that was super telling about your character. And honestly, that year, I think you pitched the last game of the season and flew to have hip surgery the next day. Like it was something that you
It
grounded
was
through the whole year.
It was soon after for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
that game, oh man, that game was so brutal. You know what? Quick story. When I signed with the Cubs, like that was an epic game for the fans,
It was
right?
an
Because
incredible. It
John
was
Lester,
yeah. There was a
he laid down
Lester
a
had a
bunt. It
bunt,
might have been,
right? Yeah.
yeah. And then who was the other lefty pitcher? He caught a ball. He was playing left field at one point,
Yes.
and I think caught a
Travis
ball.
Travis something. What was his name?
Oh
Travis
man,
Wood.
I'm drawing a
Is that?
blank. Yeah,
Uh,
would.
yeah.
And so
You put him in
I
left.
go into like I don't know a month into the Cubs season when I'm with them,
Mhm.
and I walk in the video room and they have those highlights playing. It's like because that's what's playing on the jumbotron. It's like the jumbo feed in the. I was like, dude, can someone please turn this off? Like, I do not want to relive this. I don't care if I'm on this team or not.
That was
So it
terrific. I mean,
was
it was an
tough, man.
incredible game. And I remember it went to extra innings and we were sitting like back in friends and family. And it got to be so late. There were like kids that needed to go to school the next day or whatever it was. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So everybody was just kind of slowly creeping down towards the field. But didn't end well for you, obviously, but it was a great game to watch.
No, and I always tell people too after that game, and then I blew the next one with the Red Sox. Mookie Betts took me deep, and that's when I threw in the towel. I'm like, guys, I'm killing the team. My hip is messed up. Like
Mhm.
it's just killing me, and it really is killing my shoulder because I have no lower half. And I went and got a cortisone shot. We agreed to get surgery after the season, and I came back. I threw really well, but I like to tell people that I paved the way for Edwin Diaz. He ended up being the closer that year, his rookie
That's
year.
right.
And because like Scott Service called me in the office like, hey man, like I love you, but we got to go with Edwin. I'm like, dude, he throws 100 miles an hour with a wipeout slider. I
Yeah.
throw 88 to 92. Like he'd be a fool not to put me, to put him in there. He's like, all right, that was like better than what he thought it would be. I'm like, no, I get it. Like, do it. Let's go.
I love that. So, maybe I have a couple other questions, but I'm actually genuinely curious. So, like, obviously, as time went on, you became the veteran in the clubhouse. Like, I remember you being the guy that was like, you bought like a foosball table for the locker room. I think when you were in Washington, all that stuff. Like, as you kind of transition more, you became a little bit more aware of like that veteran mentorship role. Like, how did that change your prep on a daily basis? Like, was it something you had to go out of your way to actually do in terms of mentoring some of the younger guys, or was it something that just came naturally for you in the way that you carried yourself in the clubhouse?
It kind of came naturally. Like even when I was struggling with the White Sox with the 2020 season you mentioned, the guys are new guys would be calling up and get called up and with great stuff and they'd struggle and be like, dude, how do you like get over this? Like I'm beside myself all the time. I'm like what got you here? Like you just have to remember like what got you here. Like once you're able to get out of your own way,
Mhm.
then that's when everything just unfolds for you. And that happened for me just day one in the big leagues. So, anyways, I like to share when guys come up and ask me questions. Like I love being able to help like mentor them through it or walk them through some stuff and trying to help get other guys better. That's what like fueled me the last 3 years of my career is going over pitch sequencing with guys or like, hey, you're getting hit, you throw 98 miles an hour, but guys are comfortable in the box, you never throw in. Like of course they're going to take you to like right center field because you haven't stood them up yet. When's the last time you threw a fastball in on purpose? Never. So I don't know, little things like that. Like I love that, and then I love, that's why I kind of like coaching now.
That's awesome, man. So let's talk about the transition from playing to coaching. You led right into it. Um, we've coached together. Like I think we started with 6U and are now at 10U softball. I know you're
Yeah.
obviously helping out on the high school side of things. What's been the most eye-opening aspect of coaching? And you can maybe do one thing about the 10U girls and then one thing about the high school boys.
Wow. All right, let's go 10U girls. I've realized that size kind of matters. Like,
Mhm.
and what I mean is I'm going to talk about Emmy, my
Yeah.
oldest. When she was in 8U, like she's always been she's been a pretty decent athlete. She can move well, but A, she was scared of the ball, and B, she was a small girl. Well,
Mhm.
she almost quit playing softball last year because she was terrified of kid pitch, and she was smaller. So of course you're gonna be scared. Kids are throwing harder. You're not used to it. You're used to dad flipping it in there. Well, to her credit, she got over her fear, just working through it. But also, she got like bigger and stronger just naturally.
Mhm.
And with that, like the bat speed increased. She was
Yeah.
like killing the ball. Like I was like, I didn't know you had this in you. But so it just amazes me when especially girls I've noticed when they get bigger, like it just takes their game to a whole nother level because you'll see a lot of these girls like I mean Emmy didn't do anything, and a lot of these girls that I coach, they didn't do a single thing. They come back, they're just bigger and stronger, and they put the bat on the ball and it travels further. And it's like, well, no kidding, Steve, but it's so evident. Like when you're seeing it, it's like night and day.
Yeah.
And I compare it to like I went to a middle school Jupiter middle school game with Kohler's daughter, watching her play, and she's a big kid for rec
Mhm.
ball. These girls are like towering over her, and they're hitting scuds all over the field. I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, like this is it. They just got to get bigger and stronger.
So I always joke
Um,
that, and it's not necessarily applicable to the age groups we're talking about, but puberty's made a lot of strength coaches look way better at what they're doing than they really are.
yeah,
Long
if you want
story.
to hang your hat on that, no, you're a great strength coach, but sometimes they got to grow. But the
But
high school
yeah, high
level
school.
is similar. Like I remember having this conversation my first time helping out at
Mhm.
Jupiter Christian. There were some sloppy plays in the outfield, and one of the coaches is like, so does this make you miss playing in the big leagues? Like, this is got to be tough to watch. And like, honestly, like that kid dropped the fly ball, but he got after it. Like, you know what makes me mad is when guys are getting paid a bazillion dollars and they like don't get after a fly ball and like let them drop in front of them or just make a stupid play. Like they're getting paid to play well. Like as a teammate, that would make me way more mad. Like kid that drops the ball, whatever, he's given everything he has. He's just not talented enough yet. He hasn't gotten there. Like and so I don't know. I just I have a lot more patience for high school kids, definitely softball girls, but I also there's a lot of room for teaching moments, and so
Yeah.
that's what's been the big difference. I love being able to teach when I can.
Yeah, you know what's your take on like youth sports as the whole? I mean that because obviously like we're coaching rec ball, like you're helping out in the high school ranks. It's not even like touching on the whole like travel ball world. Do you have a perspective on where it all fits,
I think yeah, I think there's a place like for if you're travel ball for me is tough. Like, and
especially at this
I'm starting
age?
to talk to a
Yeah,
lot of parents. Yeah, at this age, like I want the girls to develop and instead of like playing on weekends only and having maybe one practice a week. I'd rather see more practices and like less games at early on in their age because I want to see them fundamentally get better. Um, it's like what we're doing with high school. We have a super young team. It's like majority, like we have a eighth grader and all freshmen and sophomores essentially, like
Mhm.
very few juniors, one senior, I think. And so all we're for the most part in practice, it's just a 45 minutes to an hour of straight ground balls, fly balls, like get after
Mhm.
it. And I our first game we had in the fall, I mean, no errors, and this is a very young team. And it's just simple, just hit ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. Make it fun for the kids, the younger kids. Like you saw our practices, I just try
Yeah,
to keep them moving all the time
compete.
and compete. And with travel ball, a lot of those girls are really talented and it's good. But at this early of an age, I just want to see them fundamentally know what to do with the ball, not be afraid of the ball, get in front of it, and be able to play the game the right way.
Yeah, I think at that age, the thing I've learned they feed off your energy so much. Like if you show up and you're moping and you're like walking from station to station, like they're gonna do the same thing. But if you've got energy, you're kind of like busting chops, you're talking them up, like it absolutely gets much, much more out of them. I wish more people kind of recognize that. You don't have to be like the hardo, on an 8U softball team.
No, for sure. I mean, there's some certain times you gotta like tell the girls to lock it in, right?
Yeah.
But as long as you're encouraging two to three times more than you're like getting
Yeah.
on them, that's criticizing, I guess.
Mhm.
I think that goes a long way. Like you just want to encourage. You want to make it fun for them. They're not gonna want to play. Like if you're, and they're gonna remember their coaches, right? Like I remember my Little League coach. He was
Yeah.
hilarious. Like I
Yeah.
love playing for him, and we still keep in touch to this day, honestly. And so I want to be that coach. You do too
Mhm.
for the
Yeah.
girls. You want them to come back and enjoy it. I mean, we lost every single game last year, and the girls had a blast. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we were right there in a lot of the games, but like you can't say they didn't get better. Like they definitely, a lot of those girls got better.
Absolutely. What about like the actual long-term athletic development side of things? Like we're talking about, what's eye-opening about it, but what have you learned just about how to develop athletes, from seeing kids who are just getting involved on T-ball at age, 5 all the way up to 18-year-olds? Like, are there things that really stick out with you about like where the industry on a whole could be better or is doing
Yeah.
certain things right to help people become that high school athlete want to be when they're just getting going at 5, 6, 7?
Well, so yeah, first of all, it goes back to what we just said, like making it fun for them early
Yeah.
on in their age where they enjoy it. Because what I'm noticing in Florida, unless the kid like, I mean, just can't get enough of it. Like I have a buddy whose kid he's gonna be excellent, and you know him too. I won't mention names,
Mhm.
but he plays a lot of baseball, but like he loves it. You know what I mean? So there's those special kids where they play year round, but they do enjoy it.
Yeah.
They're trying to go about it the right way with the rest and stuff. They haven't quite navigated that well, but they enjoy it. And then you have the other kids that I think need to play other sports.
Yeah.
And even this particular kid probably should, but a multi-sport athlete I think is it's gonna it's gonna it's going to decrease burnout in the kids. 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like kids are just going to get burnt out left and right because they're playing daddy ball. Dad wants to make a big leaguer out of them, so he thinks they got to play year round. Like, no, go play basketball. Like, learn how to
Yeah.
play basketball. You're going to become a better athlete, or just get in the weight room. Like, even if you don't like it, like make it once or twice a week. Play different sports. Get in the weight room. I'm telling you right now, like, you're going to become a better athlete. I experienced it myself. I mean,
Mhm.
you didn't see me in high school. I was 175 pounds, dripping wet. Six
Mhm.
four, 6'5", and I went to college, and they beat the daylights out of us. But I
Mhm.
was a two sport athlete in high school, and so I, baseball aside, like I went and trained at Carson Newman in the weight room, and we were doing agility work like crazy. I didn't touch a basketball And then I go and play pickup basketball in the fall with my buddies, and I'm dunking, and I couldn't even barely touch the rim when I was in high school. And I was just playing a different sport. And then next thing you know, like I go back to the baseball season, and I'm throwing 95 miles an hour. I was topping out at 84, less than a year before that. Like developmentally, you just become a better athlete when you play different sports. So, like even if you don't pick up a baseball or basketball for some time.
I love that. It's an uphill battle down here in Florida where you could literally go play a softball game every day of the week, no matter where you are, weather permitting.
Yeah.
So it's a challenging dynamic that we're all wrestling with. I'm curious. So we always wrap up in the lightning round. So the lightning round's gonna roll a little bit longer tonight, but you looking back on Major League Baseball, and you're let me say this, you're unique in that there are a lot of guys that retire and they don't like watch the game at all. They literally just like shut it off. And I feel like you watch a ton. Like, and you also know a lot of the guys, and a lot of the players that you played with are still active. Like you follow guys who I know from that Nationals bullpen who have gone all over the place. And we talk about it, but I feel like every time I'm over at your house, you have like a baseball game on in the back. Like you still follow the Marlins, who you came up with. And that's unique because a lot of guys do just shut it off and they aren't interested. But I love that about you. So you can make one rule for Major League Baseball right now. What would it be?
Oh, um, so first of all, I would have said the ABS,
Mhm.
but they're going to do that next year.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome. I do.
Yeah.
My only concern with that is, oh, we're going to introduce ABS, and now we're going to introduce like robot umpires down the road. Oh, I hate that idea.
Mhm.
But I love the idea that you can tap your helmet and get an
Yeah.
instant strike or ball call. Like it's kind of fun in my
Yeah.
opinion. Um, but the big rule is, and I'd have to think a little bit longer how to navigate this, is the option rule with
Mhm.
pitchers specifically.
Yeah.
You get three options before you can't become like what, a free agent, or
Yeah.
you go on the.
Yeah. Use one a year.
And I think there's
Yeah.
I think there's got to be something done about that, because guys are just being taxied up and down, left and right, and abused. And it's I'm watching a guy get called up to eat up innings and he dominates
Yeah.
and doesn't get rewarded for that, like
Yeah.
stinks. And it's terrible on their bodies, not to mention, because you're when you're in the minor leagues, you're on a schedule for the most part. Like AAA is not as scheduley, but it can be. And then you go up in the big leagues, there's a free for all, and these kids get hurt all the time because they haven't worked up to that workload yet.
Mhm.
And then they go and throw 3 innings and shove, and they have to get sent right back down. Like, and then and some of those guys have families as well. Like,
Yeah.
that's a tough dynamic. I just, I feel like there should be less options per year. Like, if
Mhm.
we could make a number for that, like
Yeah.
2 to 3, you get a year,
Yeah, they
and
cut it.
then
They cut it back from. I think there was a guy that had 12 at one point a few years ago, and
oh
they
my
cut it back. They
goodness,
cut it. It's five right now, so you get
it is five.
five.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean you have 3 years of options,
but
like
three
where they
years
can
of that
get.
though.
But you're right. Yeah, it's five per year over the course of 3 years, and there were a lot of guys that had a fourth year because of some of the service time stuff around COVID, which was kind of
Yeah.
a weird dynamic. But yeah, I hear you, man. It's always tough to see that guy that comes up and shoves and throws 50 pitches out of the pens and goes right back to AAA.
It's tough, and I get why they do it, but I don't know. And then you get the older guys who they don't have the options
Yeah.
anymore, and they just get released, or they're going to different teams. That's a different story, though. But at least you still have the freedom to go to another team, and might end up on a contender. Who knows? Like, I don't know. I feel like there needs to be even less moves than that.
I like that one. All right. One of the nice things about interviewing guys who have retired is they generally let their guard down. They're more honest. So, who was the
I don't
toughest
know.
guy for you to get out in your career? Who absolutely owned you?
Oh, Ian Desmond, hands
Really?
down. Oh yeah,
I
and in
don't have
fact,
the
I
I don't
saw
have the
him.
numbers, but is it outrageous?
I mean, it's pretty good. Like, it got to a point where I don't think it was a ton of damage. It's just I couldn't get him out. Right.
Mhm.
Like there was one time I intentionally threw at him when he was with Texas to back him off the plate, and I threw a really good down and away slider, and he like lasered it to right. I'm like, dude, what am I supposed to do against this guy? And then he also told me too that he saw me well. I'm like, sick. So yeah, it's him. Him, yeah. I'd say he's number one. Or David Peralta's up there too.
Another CSP guy. Yeah, I remember looking that up actually
Yeah.
because Peralta did get you. It wasn't as large of a sample size though. Um,
No, but it was painful ones, like game winners and stuff.
okay. Well,
Actually,
all
one of
right.
them resulted in me hitting my best friend in baseball in the rib cage on purpose.
All right. Now you got to tell that
So,
story because it's a great story.
all right. Steven Souza Jr., really good friend of mine. we just played in the Rays when I got sent from Seattle to Tampa. Um, he told me that when I faced him, I was trying to close the game out. I came in the eighth for Seattle. He was hitting with runners in scoring position. And he said, as I threw a pitch, he called time. I threw the pitch, and when the catcher threw it back at me, I bare hand the ball, like catch it, and like stared at him. I'm like, bro, I didn't do that. So we looked up the video because everything's on video, and sure enough, I never did that. Right? We were laughing about it. Well, fast forward to 2018, um, the Diamondbacks were coming into town, so we went out and got breakfast. Me, Marissa, and Steven. And he goes, "What are you gonna do when I step in the box and I call timeout?" I'm like, "Dude, do it. I will throw it over your head. I promise. It'll be great." He's like, "No, you won't." I'm like, "I will. I'll do it." So sure enough, it happens in a game where he slides into second that night and takes out Javi Baez's knee, and Javi has to be like carried off the field. Like they thought he blew his knee out, and it wasn't that bad, but. So I didn't think anything of it. He's just like a puppy dog that doesn't know his own strength. I know he just plays hard. And I go into the game, and I think we're down like two or three. And Wilson Contreras, who's he's got a little crazy in him. He's like, "Hey, when Souza Jr. gets up, he's a fourth hitter. You're gonna drill him first pitch." I'm like, "You serious? For what?" He goes, "You're drilling him." I'm like, "All right." I'm like, "Well, he ain't gonna get up. I'm just gonna get these three outs real quick." So I get two quick outs, and then of course Peralta comes up and he hits a single to left. I'm like, "Oh crap." So Souza puts the bat on his shoulder. He's strutting to home plate. He steps in the box, like digs in and calls time. I'm like, "Buddy, you have no idea what's coming." First pitch, right in the thigh. He got so mad. Well, he called me after the game. "What are you doing, man? Like, what was that all about?" I'm like, "Bro, I told you. You step in the box and call timeout. It's going down." He's like, "No, I know that wasn't you. Why they want me to hit you?" So I had to we talked for a while, but it was great, dude.
And then you guys wound up being teammates again, right? In spring training a couple years later, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
With the Astros, good memory. Yep.
Wow, that's
So
funny.
we still talk. We still talk. Yep.
That's terrific. All right. Well, you got to talk about what's the next thing. So you're coming out of retirement for 4 games. Explain what it is.
Wait, say that again. I'm coming out of what?
You're coming out of retirement for 4 games in Asia. So explain
Oh,
what's going on. Okay.
we're playing two games in Korea, two games in Japan. I don't know if it's officially been announced yet, but it's like kind of like a Legends of MLB game. And quite frankly, I don't know what I'm doing on this team. Like it's unbelievable. Like Manny Ramirez, who's like my hero when I was a Red Sox fan, is playing in it. Andrew Jones, like it's so cool. Nelson Cruz, another teammate I had for years. I mean, there's some, Brian Jordan's playing in it. So
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I, Bartolo Colon? Like, this is incredible. Like, what am I doing on this team? And yeah, we played two games in Korea, two games in Japan, I think, against former KBO guys, and should be a lot of fun. So I'm gearing up for it, as you know.
What's the hardest part of coming out of retirement?
Oh, I was thinking about this today because I need to go throw tomorrow and lift, and I got so much I got to do. Is just now as a family life, like
Yeah.
I'm like, committed to family, and so trying to find time to be consistent has been really tough, honestly. I'm
Right.
traveling again this weekend.
85, 86 off the bump last week, though. First time in a long time, right?
And you saw the numbers, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Every,
I actually feel pretty good
everything's still attached too. That's the most important part.
so far.
Nice, man. Well, we're cheering for you to stay in one piece first and foremost, and then to actually go pitch well. So I'm excited to see you back out there doing your thing.
Well, I appreciate it. I got a good strength coach helping me out and a good pitching coach over there, or several pitching coaches, I should say. But appreciate you guys helping me. It's awesome.
Always, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Always good to chat. I'm fortunate to have you right down the street and still at CSP after all these years. So glad we're able to share some of these experiences with a larger audience.
Absolutely, anytime. Super fun.
Appreciate you, buddy.